All right, we're now going to switch gears into taxes. So now everyone's heard of the word tax before. I mean, you've probably paid them. Maybe you've heard people that you live with talk about taxes. Now, there is a way that taxes are calculated, and you'll realize this. I mean, when you go out to the store and you might see a price tag, but then when you go to the till and you actually end up paying for the item or items, the price is typically higher. And that means that taxes have been applied to the retail price. And I mean, I suppose if I look at this based on the last video, the store, what they charge you is the retail price. Okay, so that's what the item might be worth on the shelf. But so what do you actually have to pay? You have to pay the retail price that the store has determined and whatever the tax is. And that's essentially, if you take both of those together, that's what you have to pay. And that's what I'm talking about. I mean, if you went out right now and wanted to buy a new tablet of some kind, I'm just totally making this up, but let's pretend the price on the shelf was $449. When you go to the till and you pay, you're not paying $449. Typically, there has been some amount of tax added to that. And if you take the retail price and the tax, that is what you are going to pay as a consumer. Now, what you should know, first of all, if we're talking about Canada, and if you've traveled, first of all, taxes are not always consistent. It can vary sometimes it just varies where you are in the country. A drastic example would be Alberta and BC. Taxes are very, very different. So let's kind of just look at what we're talking about here. Now, there is a consistent charge of tax across Canada, and that is called the GST, and that is called the Goods and Services Tax, which is 5%. And then this is now where the change comes in. Some provinces have what's called a PST, or a provincial sales tax. For example, in BC, you do have a provincial sales tax. So if you were to buy, let's say, a chocolate bar in BC, you would have to add on the price of the GST and the PST. Whereas if you buy that chocolate bar in Alberta, you just pay the GST. One thing to note, when you do these questions, the tax rate will always be given to you. Now, I am going to do this example for you, but I thought that was a little bit of they're jumping into it too quick. So I'm just going to scroll down here to the bottom of the page, and I'm just going to make up my own. So I'm just going to pretend that you go out, let's say you spend price of shoes, okay? So the price of shoes is, we'll say, $55, okay? Now, that would be the retail price. So what would you have to pay? Now, first of all, I'm going to tell you that we simply are in Alberta. In Alberta, we only have GST. So the GST rate in in Canada, is 5%. So in other words, we are going to add 5% to the retail price. And how do you do that? Number one, you take, as per usual, your percentage. You change it into a decimal by dividing it by 100, and that gives you 0.05. Just like we've done, this is our third lesson now, I believe. You take that decimal, whoops, sorry, that's a one extra zero there, and you multiply it by our total, or our retail price in this case. So I'm just going to put this first, retail price. And I'm now going to erase it just for you to know that's why I'm putting the 55 there now. So, what did I just do? You see, the GST is a percentage. It's 5%. 5% of what? It's 5% of the retail price. So in other words, what we're doing right now is we're finding out what is 5% of $55. So you go 0.05 times 55, and you will get $2.75. So this right here is the amount of GST or tax. Now taxes get added. So if you want your final price, you have to take your retail price and add it to your tax amount. So in other words, that's going to be $55 plus $2.75, which would give you a final price for you as a consumer of $57.25. So again, the math here is not difficult. I mean, we've done this before. We're taking the percentage of 5% and turning it into a decimal. Then we're taking that decimal and multiplying it by the whole amount or the retail price. And then finally, you take the retail price and add it to the tax. But the one thing I want to point out here, though, is that you have to understand, in this question, we figured out 5% of $55. What would happen if something we bought was $5,000 or $15,000? One thing I would like to point out is that even though the GST would remain at 5%, the greater the price, the more tax you'll pay. So just keep that in mind. That's how, you see, because of this whole percentage game, even though GST remains consistent at 5%, the more your retail price, the more tax you'll pay. And I'm not going to go into this right now, but it would be an interesting thing for you to calculate. Let's just say you took something worth $500. If you understand the math, I'll just go GST, I'll go 5%. Look at what your final price would be. And then I'll take something of $5,000 and GST is 5%. Now look at what your final price is. And this one is going to be much larger. Now, why is that? That is because on the left, we are figuring out what is 5% of 500. Versus on the right, we're figuring out what is 5% of a much bigger number. I'll let you try that one on your own. And finally, before I let you go here, and this is in the example that's shown to you, what if you were buying something in the province of BC? And as an example where there's two taxes. So I'm just going to take their total here. It was $179. So we have a retail price of $179.99. And I believe what they tell us is we have GST of 5% and an HST of 11%. Let's not get too much into the terminology right now. But the point is, you have to calculate both of these percentages, and you have to do so separately. Do not just go, well, 5% plus 11% is 6. No, just do it separately, okay? Now, you could combine them. I understand that, but I like doing it separately. I just find it makes things a little bit easier, especially for what could come up here. So what you have to do, step 1 with the GST, that's 5%. If you divide by 100, that's 0.05. As you know now, what you do is you take that and multiply it by the retail price of $179.99. And let's see, what do we get in that case? So you're going to go 0.05 times 179.99. If you round it, it's $9. Then you'd have to look at, well, the HST, harmonized sales tax, is 11%. If you do your whole procedure of dividing by 100, that gives you 0.11. You take that decimal, times it by the retail price of $179.99. I'll just punch that in here, 179.99. With rounding is essentially $19.80. You have to now figure out, well, what the heck is the total of my tax? How much taxes do I have in total? Okay. Oh, shoot, and I made a mistake here. Sorry, everyone. The HST was not 11%. The HST was 6%. I apologize. I'll just do that here. 6%, and that just changes my value right here to 0.06. And if I go 0.06 times $179.99. Sorry, everyone, that's $10.80. I apologize. All you have to do is add those two values together. So 9 plus 1080. So your total tax for this question is $19.80 plus your retail price, which was $179.99. And if you add those together, the price you would pay is $199.75. So I'm sorry for my mix up there, but I don't think it really is going to change your understanding too much. I took my retail price, I figured out the GST amount at 5%. I figured out the HST amount at 6%, not 11. And then you had to add those two together. That's your total tax amount. Add it to your retail price. I will give you some practice with that.